How you doing?
Doing all right. I gotta get that first out of state deal done.
Where's that at? What city? Was that in Knoxville?
It was White Pine. I don't
In,
know where it is, but it feels good to say
so
that.
what White Pine what state?
It's in Tennessee. Sorry, it's in
Tennessee.
Tennessee. But
Okay.
I think it's around Knoxville. I think it's probably within
Yeah, I noticed the lady's her address was a Knoxville, Tennessee deal.
Oh yes.
But
Yeah. I think a lot of companies within a I think Knoxville's within an hour or so. So I went to a landlord event in January and I met this guy who owned like I think like 1,600 some almost 1,600 units. And he was like, "Yeah, I buy all over Tennessee." And I said, "Well, I'll be down there in 6 months. I'll give it a go." And so I decided to start look. I got your course and gave me the courage and the tool sets to start looking outside of Virginia.
Hmm.
And
So did you make good money on it?
it was about 80, 100. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah. So I'll
That's
take yeah,
awesome.
that's great. So I got that one, and I got another two more closing up within the next couple of weeks here.
Same area?
Uh, they're in Tennessee, but different areas. One's near, not too far. It's probably a good ways from Nashville. Yeah, like an
Hmm.
hour and a half, and another one's in Clarksville. Uh,
Clarksville?
hmm So that
So yeah, I mean that's awesome, man. It's like one buyer can change the game for you.
actually come to find out, he needs to buy so deep that a lot of the numbers didn't work on the deals that I got. So I started doing skip tracing buyers, texting them. I think a few weeks ago we had a phone call asking about buyers how to get interact with them. So I started doing that, and I started going and add myself to Facebook groups in Tennessee, cash
Mhm.
buyers. And then when people post a deal, say, "Hey, I'm looking for buyers," I would just grab all those email addresses and
Yep.
email them, "Hey, you're looking for more properties?" But it's funny. All three of my buyers for those three different deals, they all came off of referrals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was buyers who say, "Hey, I don't like, the deal doesn't work for me, but I know somebody who may be
Oh, that's
interested."
awesome. So what how did you get the deal under or how did you get the deals under contract? What method?
It was an absentee owners list I got from Listability,
Okay. And did you
and
send them a postcard? Did you text them? Did you cold call them?
oh, we texted them, so it
Yeah,
was all pretty much text. We got some either through Sherper, and I'm using batch leads right now, giving a test out.
hmm I think
But
the batch guys are pretty good dudes.
so yeah, I'll see how it goes there. But yeah, actually, all those contracts came from Sherper, so we got a local area code for them, and we just started text blasting them, and
That's awesome, man. So are you going to start working that area quite a bit now down in Tennessee there?
yeah, because I want to buy more rentals, um, but I get a deal here, so most of them I have to wholesale all of them because just to keep the cash flow coming in.
Hmm.
And so I want to start expanding to other areas where I can wholesale, build a capital, so I can start buying properties here in Richmond and in Hampton Roads because I like the Hampton Roads area now too.
Hmm.
I want to start building up a rental portfolio over these next few years.
So you live in Richmond though, Virginia, right?
Hmm
So I think do you know, let me see here. I want to look up a name for you real quick. How far is Charlottesville from you?
It's an hour west.
Knows it out. I got a friend of mine that he's lives there. He does some wholesaling out there.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Kyle,
Well,
Kyle Miller, do you know him?
I don't know. I know Todd Miller.
Yeah,
I know
this is Kyle, and I want to say he does stuff in Richmond. You ought to look him up. You ought to look him up on Facebook.
Kyle with a K.
Yeah, Kyle with K, Kyle Miller does a lot of deals.
Okay.
Probably you guys can probably do deals together. Maybe you find something he buys. I know he does fix and flips too. He's on Facebook if you look him up.
So yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, I do want to tackle Tennessee and in different parts of I am working on Richmond, so I've done some wholesale deals at Hampton Roads, and it's in a good bit, decent bit in Richmond.
I think Nashville and Memphis are two cities that are big, but they're a little tougher to. I mean, they're smaller fees and a little harder to get deals.
Yeah. Nashville, I was. I think almost everybody I messaged like, yeah, you got a deal in Nashville, something like that. Nashville, Knoxville is like the hot areas, but it's hard to find. It's tough to find the deals. Like my deals are like on the outskirts areas.
That's the best. Yeah, that's what I like too. Well, cool, man. Well, hey, I don't know. Maybe it's just gonna be me and you today. This one's not gonna. We're probably only gonna. This will probably be half hour. So I just, it's not gonna take us a full hour to cover this. But what I want to talk about today is handling overhead and managing expenses. So, I've gone through with my business. I've had enormous payrolls, and I've been able to cut a lot of overhead out. But you got to be super careful when you're building out and scaling. The mistakes I've made in the past, mistakes my friends have made in the past. You can scale so fast that your overhead climbs too quickly. So I want to just take a little bit of time today and just go through some of the things that I've learned with scaling and keeping managing your overhead and managing your expenses. So first of all, one of the things you should do is you should have a daily tracking sheet. Okay. Especially in the beginning, when you're first trying to scale, or you're looking at hiring your first person, or even if you haven't hired a person, but you have other expenses, some of the things that you got to remember that if you have a VA working for you, there's a daily expense attached to that VA. You can literally track that on a spreadsheet. If you've got subscriptions that you're paying for, we all have websites that we, subscribe to and to help us with our real estate businesses. You can take whatever that monthly cost is. If it's $100 a month for whatever service, you can break that down and figure out what that's going to cost you per day. Doing marketing, marketing costs money. If you can figure out what your monthly budget is for all your marketing, and then break that down by the number of days in the month, you can figure out. But I like having a daily tracking sheet so I can look at my expenses. And it's kind of scary when you start looking at it, because now you've got your spreadsheet and it tells you how much money you're spending when you wake up in the morning. Like as soon as you get up in the morning, you're like, okay, my daily expense is this number. I got to go out and make some money. So I like that motivation part of it. And I like to see, as you're working through your day, what you have to hit to break even. And we're not in this thing to break even. We got to make money. So then along with and you can do this super simple, just in a spreadsheet. You can literally have a date, have how much your cost is for your daily expenses, and then you can have an income piece. I like to have two. I want to know, okay, what's my daily expenses going to be? What's it costing me with everything divided up by 30 days? And now what is my income? Okay. In real estate, real estate is a little different. We only have, every business is different. Some businesses operate differently than others. Real estate has advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages is big paydays. If you wholesale a deal and make $8,100, that's a good payday. But if you think about it, real estate you don't close deals on Saturdays and Sundays. You might put one under contract, but you're not going to close it only on Monday through Friday. And if there's a holiday in there somewhere and the title company's closed or the bank's closed, it could cut down that even further. So remember that when you're doing the income side of things, you've got to have, you can have daily income in that spreadsheet, but you won't bring in income on Saturdays and Sundays. So you may even want to, with real estate, that is, unless you have a rental property, you could take a look at break down, if you get $1,000 a month for rent and you want to break that down daily, that could be one thing that you can collect every day. But you may want to take, if you're wholesaling only, you may want to just cut it into 20 days a month and figure out what your expenses are 20 days a month, and then track your income 20 days a month. But the main thing that I want you to do is to track expenses and track income. And if you do it by the day, it seems to catch your attention more. So,
Oh, terrifying.
yeah, but that's the best part is it keeps you motivated. It keeps you, you know where you're at daily. So, so that's one thing. That's a big piece. If you learn nothing from what I'm going to share with you today, if you just keep a daily income and daily expense sheet, you can track to see if you're moving forward or moving backwards. Now, as you scale and as you grow your business, here's another lesson that I learned kind of the hard way. Just learned this by doing. But when I was in major growth mode, I was hiring too many people. And my thought was, hey, it's a little bit better to have too many so nothing gets missed than too many employees so nothing gets missed versus not enough. And then all of a sudden we're missing stuff. And what I found is that's exactly opposite. Okay. When you have more people than what you need, what ends up happening is everybody else is looking around thinking an email goes to, let's say an email goes out to 8 people, and every one of those 8 people think whoever else is on that email is going to handle that, whatever that email is about to handle. So what I found is that if you have too many people, there's too many people thinking the other guy's going to get it and the other guy's going to handle it. It's actually better to have fewer people than you need so that everybody's stretched and they're less likely to miss stuff, and they're pushing and knowing that, hey, this is up to me. I got to go handle this. Holy cow, I'm out of time. I got to become more efficient. A good employee has no capacity limit, okay? A capacity is a mindset. And so if you get super busy and you get overwhelmed, typically what a good human brain will do is figure out how to become more efficient to get more done. So I've found it's absolutely important to make sure hire fewer people than you need that you think that'll take to get the job done. If you think you need 3 people, get 2. If you think you need 10, get 7. And watch how much more efficient everybody gets, and watch how much better it actually is. So at one time I had about 10 employees more than I needed. Think about what 10 employees cost you in the course of a week or a day or a month. I mean, that's a lot of extra overhead. And what I found when I started cutting people, that we actually ran better as a company. So it's better to have fewer employees. So don't think, as you're scaling your business, don't think you need to hire somebody every time you turn around. Figure out efficiencies first. Figure out how to use efficiencies. One of the biggest reasons I started using virtual assistants was, one, there's no payroll taxes needed. So that saves an extra 25-30% right there. And 2, they don't have the distractions that a lot of other people have if they're working in an office. There's so many other distractions. So as I was scaling with virtual assistants, not only am I replacing a virtual assistant, somebody that makes $4 an hour, compared to maybe an American worker doing the same exact job that's making $14 or $15 an hour. Not only am I saving there, but I found that that virtual assistant was actually more efficient than my American worker. So, so the first place you should scale, if you want to manage, if you're handling your overhead and managing your expenses, I always pick virtual assistants first. I always try to go with a virtual assistant over an American worker in an office, if I can, because it's just a better move. It's a more efficient move. It's cheaper costs, and it's better. Anytime any of my friends tell me they're getting ready to hire an assistant, I always ask them, like, well, are you hiring a virtual assistant or actually oh no, I want to have a real office, and I want to have a a real, company that I drive to and get in an office every day. And I'm like, why? Like, why? I mean, I'm not saying, I have an office. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but every time you think it's neat to have an office or think it's neat to have this or that, that adds up, and that's real money. I ran my business out of a Panera Bread for years. I didn't have an office. I was so cheap. I was like, literally, I watched every little penny that I spent. I was so cheap that I wouldn't pay for internet at my house. I had internet. I would go to the Panera Bread and get free internet from them because it saved me $30 a month or 50, whatever it cost back then. So be aware of your expenses, because the more expenses, the higher your expenses go, the more money you're required to make before you break even and then make money and actually make a profit. Now, I don't want to get carried away. I'm not saying you guys shouldn't have internet at your house. I don't believe in that at all. I was too much of a cheapskate back then, especially since I like working from home now anyway. But I don't think everybody needs an office. I really don't think that's an added expense that you need. If you can build, when you're managing your expenses and handling your overhead, if you can build your whole system to work from your house, that's 100% better, in my opinion, than having a physical office, especially with everything that we just learned from COVID. The whole COVID thing changed the game, and it's continuing to change the game. I know a lot of commercial real estate investors right now that own retail, they own hotels, they own office space. They are absolutely getting crushed. And so, especially the office space, some of this stuff will come back. I think hotels and some of that stuff will come back eventually, not very quickly. But office space, I don't see it happening. Too many businesses just learned how to do business without an office. So if these other businesses, big businesses, are transitioning out of offices, why do you need an office? So if you can, as you're scaling your business so you can really manage your overhead, don't go get an office. Use virtual assistants and try to do everything where everybody works from their house. So that's the big thing. Like now is you can set up your office at your house. That doesn't mean people need to come to your house. That just means that you can Zoom meetings, just like what we're doing right now. People can work from their own home to go do the tasks that need to be done. Now, and that's if you need boots on the ground. So, in my company, we only hire boots on the ground people that physically need to go to properties. Everybody else can be a virtual employee, except I also like my managers, the managers within my company, the different divisions of whatever they manage. I like them to be a local person too. I do like that part. So, so if you can have everybody work, anybody that works for me, first of all, step one is to have virtual, but if you do have to have a person, you can have them work from home. That saves you a lot of money and expenses in office. And again, right now, with COVID still being an issue, one person gets COVID in your office is kind of shut down as it is. So the other thing is the 1099 pay versus W-2. 1099 is when you basically just pay somebody a straight wage and they have to pay their own taxes. Typically, those aren't employees. Those are subcontractors. I like that model better than the W-2 model. I have a lot of W-2 employees still. We're a really big company, but anytime I can switch anybody out to a virtual assistant's not W-2 or 1099. It's just a straight expense. It's a service. So that's always better if you don't have to pay the taxes yourself. Now, W-2, now you have to pay payroll taxes. There's a lot of other accounting needed. It's a whole nother level of just sophistication. So anytime you can have that virtual assistant working for you, you're saving on that expense as well. You won't have to do a W-2. Now, when you have to have a tracking model. If you want to go to this model and you don't have an office, which is what I recommend, you need some kind of tracking model. You have to get daily progress reports. So I have my virtual assistants that work for me. They have to send an a daily progress report on everything that they do for the day. I like to know like a quick rundown of all the stuff that they're doing. That's a good way to track. It keeps people accountable, and it makes you be able to see how much they're doing so that you can measure their progress and make sure that they're earning their wages. Now, when you have you kind of have to set the standard too. This is one thing that I think a lot of people don't do, especially when they hire a virtual assistant. Like, I'll give you an example. I have people that I'll meet and talk to and coach, and they'll say, yeah, I'll ask them about, how many cash buyers are you adding? And is a day or a week or a month. I'll ask them about their cash buyers. This is just an example. And I'll ask them, is it a virtual assistant building your cash buyers list? And first of all, your virtual assistant should be building your cash buyers. That's something that they can do. But for an example, if that virtual assistant left to their own device, if you say, hey, I want you to, here's how to add virtual assistants, or I'm sorry, here's how to add cash buyers. Here's the process, ready, set, go, start adding cash buyers. If you don't give that virtual assistant a target number, a target goal to hit, it's going to be low. So I'll talk to investors, good investors, that I'll just say, hey, how many cash buyers does your virtual assistant add per day? Well, they add 12, or they add 13, or they add 18. My virtual assistant that I have for cash buyers adds 40 new cash buyers a day, and that's just one of the tasks that she does. That she does 6 other hours worth of work. So if you've got a virtual assistant adding cash buyers and they're spending all day and they're bringing you 13, then they're simply not, either you don't have a good system or they're not working. So you always want to set up a target number. So when you give somebody a task, set a target for them to hit. If you hire a virtual assistant and say, hey, I'm going to give you, you have you have 2 hours a day to work on this task, and this is what I need you to get done. At least if they come up short, then and they don't get, they come up short from the number you try to hit, at least you'll have some feedback there, and you can kind of gauge to see if maybe I've set the bar too high. Maybe it's not feasible for them to get that much done, or maybe there's added coaching needed to help them get through all that. That's a very important piece, though. You have to give people, whether virtual or not, you have to give them a target. Looks like we had Trino join, and Ryan. You guys have any questions on any of that stuff that I've covered so far? Sai, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's got me thinking. I need to up my standards. I remember I was telling my VA, like, yeah, remember Matt? I said, yeah, he's doing 20 cash buys a day. They're like, 20? Wow. I was like, yeah, that's wow. We need to get on it. So we're not quite to that point yet. I think we're probably somewhere between 5 to 10 a day. Mm-hmm. But just give me some food of thought. I just need to set the bar higher for the team and do really due diligence. But still, there was times we'll go like a week without adding cash buyers. So even with your system, it's drastic more than what we were doing before. But I need to set that bar higher.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too: is just remember, when you hire somebody or you train somebody to do a task, the first day they ever do it's the slowest they'll ever be at it, right? So you can maybe 20 was a good number for you a while back, but bump it up now. Just say, hey, we're getting busier, we're moving, we're shaking, we're scaling this business. I know I used to tell you we needed 20 cash buyers a day, but guess what? We need 30 now, and see how they react. Make sense?
I did have a question. It's kind of close to the one where you mentioned about, if you got a lot of things, hire less people to do it, and they're feeling efficiency and they're good, they'll figure things out. Do you do the same thing like with like deadlines? Like, do you look at a task and say, hey, you know what? I think it probably should take 4 days to do it. I'm going to tell them they need to get it done in 3. Or does that just apply to the amount of people you hire? The same principle.
I always make it a stretch. Like I would rather people will always fit whatever it is that you give them into the constraints that you tell them to fit it within. So if the task is, if you think you could do it in 4 days and you tell somebody it needs to be done in 2 days, watch what happens. Watch to see how they do with it. I'll never forget the first VA I hired. I don't remember the exact task. I can't remember the exact task this was. It was even when it was long enough ago. It was actually, I was in my other office. Not the one that you saw, Cy, when you came out to my office, but the one before that. This is how long ago it was. But I remember we needed to do this task. And I was standing in my office and a couple of my employees were talking and they're like, yeah, we need to get this done right now, but that's like 5 days worth of work. And I was pretty hot and heavy with the VA system back then. And I was convinced that my VAs could outperform any American employee. And so they're telling me it's going to take 4 to 5 days. I gave it to Daisy, my very first VA. She still works for me now. I gave it to Daisy. This was on a Friday. I told my team, give it to Daisy. It was a Friday. And I said, let's just check to see how far she is on Monday morning when we come back to work. So this was a Friday night. We got back on Monday and my team was like, I got into the office. My team was like, you are not going to believe this. That the whole thing is done. I'm like, I thought you said it was going to take 4 to 5 days. They're like, there isn't a single person in this office that could have got it done in 4 to 5 days. We even thought that was stretching it. So our little joke around the office at that point was we thought maybe Daisy had 14 kids and they all had a laptop and they were like all working on this project to get it done literally in a couple of days. And so that really changed my mind because we told Daisy at that point, we're like, hey, this would be super impressive if you could get it done really fast, but we really need it. I mean, it's really, really important. I don't remember what the task was, but I just remember the physical volume of work that was needed was my team thought it was 4 to 5 days and Daisy got it done over the weekend. So set the bar high, make it so it seems unachievable and see how people react. That's kind of how I'd handle that.
I thought the office joke would be like, dang, Daisy about to put us all off a job.
Well, guess what? Everybody else steps up after that. I mean, not only at that time, the average person in my office was probably making $15-16 an hour back then. Daisy was making $1 an hour at that time. I started her out at $1 an hour. So imagine if a task that you would normally do gets handed to somebody that's $1 an hour and they do it in a fraction of the time that it would take you. What's the chances you're going to show up to work the next day like ready to work? You know what I mean? So it helps. Everybody in my office, they know these VAs are unbelievable. So so Ryan, I saw you join us too. So we're just talking today. The topic has been handling overhead and managing expenses. This is a shorter one, you guys. I'm not going to spend a whole hour on it, but we're just basically covering a lot of ways to, as you scale, manage expenses. So if you guys, most people watch these later. Doesn't always happen live, but it's you guys that missed the first part. You might want to go back. I talked about really keeping your overhead down, making sure you have fewer employees than you need. It's actually worse to have too many employees than not enough. Too many employees than too little. You want always fewer. You want to stretch people. You want to make sure that they're utilizing their time and it's everything they can do to get their job done each day. That's the better move.
Yeah, hey, Matt, we've been implementing a lot of stuff that Amanda went over during, kind of like the how to handle VAs.
Mm-hmm.
training, and it was, actually really good. Like those, send an email in the morning and at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
That way it's like we have like, we can review that at night and then give them instructions so
Yep.
they hit the ground running the next morning. All that stuff like really works. One question I have is with COVID, like we were literally looking at offices the day that they started canceling sports.
Mm-hmm.
So we never ended up getting an office. I just hired a rehab manager and an executive assistant that Monday, 2 days before they started canceling sports. So like we've never really had an office where we all work. So it's kind of, we're doing everything virtual, which, the first time really growing my team to this level, there's a learning curve with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So what recommendations do you have just to keep kind of people engaged, bought in, just keep the morale and the culture in good shape?
Well, yeah, there's nothing that says you can't do Zoom meetings as daily huddles, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, we do that a ton.
We do a lot of Zoom meetings in my company. Sometimes I feel like all I do is Zoom. Okay. But so you can do that, Ryan, to keep everybody engaged. And I can tell you, it does work. I do one meeting a week. I do one meeting a week with my team where we jump on Zoom with the top people in my team. And I can always tell after I get done talking to my team for half an hour to 45 minutes or whatever it is that we have to cover, their spirits are uplifted and they seem like they're playing on another level. So it does work. But, virtual is the future. And as time goes on, there's going to be less and less demand for office space. And it's going to get to the point where everybody's going to want to work from their house. And just remember, if somebody can work from their house, if they're driving half an hour or an hour to work, that saves them a lot of time in the course of their day. It saves getting ready time. It's like I used to not be as excited about working remotely, but I'm big on it now. I really think it's the future. And so I would just set up your daily huddles as a daily Zoom. Again, it can be 15 minutes, but at least you're communicating with them, right? So that's my thoughts on that.
Gotcha.
And Ryan, like the beginning of day and end of day reports that we require all our virtual assistants to do, you can do the same thing with your other employees.
I think it makes sense because sometimes I'm so busy, I'm not, I'm having a hard time keeping up with kind of my, my to-do list and kind of like my, like my daily commitments and weekly commitments that, like I kind of, if it's quiet, I'm like, sweet, I can get stuff done. But that's probably not necessarily the, so I think sometimes I could, like you said, I could provide direction and maybe I could,
you need to take a look at what people are doing and making sure it's
uplift their spirits. Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of a low hanging fruit. Okay.
Amanda sent me a weekly. She does hers weekly. She doesn't do hers daily.
Okay.
She sends me a weekly list of everything that she does, and you have to scroll on the email, like it's long.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what she's working on. I have another guy that does one of the jobs in my company. Every single morning, he sends me a list of everything he did the day before. And guess what? There are a lot of times, most of the time I read it in 10 seconds, I read it and I move on. There are times when I give him feedback. I'm like, hey, what about this, this, and this? And that always corrects course. So if you get that list of what they're doing, you have at least a couple things are happening. One, they know that you're watching. They know that you're tracking what they're doing. Two, that gives you the ability to give feedback to keep them as efficient as you can. I would absolutely make sure
makes sense
that I would absolutely make sure that these guys are stretched. You should be working them hard. Another thing you can ask your employees are you can ask. I did this with a girl on my. You guys have probably seen her talk a few times. Her name's Heather. You've probably seen her on these. Heather is a freaking machine, and Heather has single-handedly. This is no BS. This is how amazing Heather is. She has single-handedly replaced 5 people in my company. She's doing the work of 5 other people. She's so efficient. She's such a hard worker. So she's doing the work of 5 people. You know what I asked her the other day? This is a good question you can ask an employee. I'm like, Heather, what percentage wise, what capacity level are you at right now? She's like, I'm at about 70%. So even though she's replaced 5 other people, she's doing what I used to have 5 other individual people do. And every time I would just absorb their whole job, I would absorb into what Heather, because she could just handle it. And even after all that, she says, I'm only about 70%. That's somebody that has no capacity limit. So if you ask one of your employees what capacity they're at, just try it sometime and see. Just say, hey, what capacity level are you at? 50%, 60%? How much more can I give you? Oh no, I can't do anything else. I'm maxed out. And if you don't think that's accurate, then you probably have the wrong person.
I could see that really working. And yeah, Heather is definitely awesome. Yeah, I was on with like Cy and maybe a couple other people, but I was the last one on the call. I think me and Heather talked for like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
At the end of the last boardroom call. So that might be a long replay.
When I hired, this is no BS, guys. When I hired Heather, first of all, I didn't hire her. That Lewis hired her, but I was in the office one day and I said, Lewis, who's that walking across there? He goes, that's new girl, Heather. I'm like, what's she working on right now? Well, she's working on getting us some new vending machines so we can have snacks during the day. And I'm like, fire her today. And I said, we don't need to pay some. I said, what are we paying her? He says, $12 an hour. I said, we don't need somebody to run around and get snacks and vending machines. Get rid of her. He goes, no, I just want to keep her. Just trust me. So we started Heather out at $12 an hour. This is only 3 years ago, guys. And she just so good. Whatever you give her, she absorbs it in, takes the next person. She's probably saved me $250,000 a year in payroll with other people I was hiring. So I just keep giving her more money. So, but that's important. Ask the people working for you what capacity they are, and expect them. They're afraid. They're afraid that if they say 50% or 70%, they're probably afraid that you're gonna want to cut their pay or something weird like that. So they might exaggerate up. But then you need to respond back with, hey, I'm getting ready to give you a whole bunch more work. So I need to make sure that you're productive and you're efficient so I can hand off more for you to do. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. I'm going to do that this week.
So you ought to do that, Ryan, with your project manager and your ops guy.
Yeah. I want to do it with my acquisitions. Well, I want to do it with my entire staff.
Yeah.
Just
individually, though. Individually.
Don't
do it in a meeting. Don't do it in a meeting.
Yeah.
Go around in a room. Do it.
I don't want to put them on the spot like that. That would be weird. I'm not trying to give them crap. I'm just trying to kind of feel it out. And but also like my acquisitions manager, he's just an animal. He gets up at like 5:30 in the morning and I think he works out, and I think he eats like 4 meals before most people. Like even, he gets up like around when you do. And he's just ready to go. So
my COVID
if I
hours,
ask him, he'll probably say 20%.
Sleeping hours, Ryan, my COVID sleeping hours, I don't get up early anymore.
Gotcha.
I sleep in until about 6 o'clock, but hopefully that's
yeah. But you go to bed earlier.
Yeah, I do. I sleep a lot, right? Well, and I'm almost through it. I felt crappy today.
Okay.
But I'm about through it. So
that's good.
Anyway, you guys have anything else you want to talk about? Trino, I haven't heard anything from you. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
No, the only
checked?
question that I have, I sent an email to Hazel regarding my BA.
Yep.
She hasn't answered me back, so I don't
Uh-oh.
think she has got my my email regarding
Are
those
you?
5.
Yeah, Hazel's Johnny on the spot. You want to? What? Do you know what email you gave her, or what email did you use, Trino?
I'll type it in the chat room, or
There you go. You know what? Do me a favor. Put it in the chat. Let me open it up here. Hang on. Because she's really, really responsive. Let me just take a look and see. What I'm going to do too, what I'll do is I will make sure she reaches out.
yeah, I'm waiting on my BA.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, Trino, is I'm just going to I'll send her an email, and I'll make sure see whatever the disconnect is.
Perfect.
Oh, wait. You gave her, is that your email?
Yes.
Oh, that's your email. Okay. All right. I'll follow up with, let me copy and paste that. I'll follow up and find out what's going on for you. Anything else, guys? This one's going to be shorter. I'm a little not feeling the best today. So
I've got another question about, do you have like KPIs or kind of like expectations, and what does it, like for your role, what does success look like, and KPIs that you track for each person? Or you just kind of do that for acquisitions, how many leads are coming in, dispositions, stuff like that?
KPIs per person. Every single person in your company should have either a KPI or some kind of benchmark that that they should hit. For example, let's say, just to throw an off-topic one, let's say leasing people. Just go to my front desk. Here's a good story. This is probably 5 years ago. I noticed that we had a lot of vacancies, and I don't like it when my houses are vacant. I want them filled. And so I went to the girls at the front desk that schedule appointments for the leasing agents, and I'm like, how many leasing appointments are you scheduling a day? And the number, I'll just use a random number, they're like 40. And I'm like, that's not enough. We need to book at least 80 a day. And as soon as I set that number, I came in the next day. Guess how many they hit? 80.
Yeah.
People will always fit within the constraints that you give them. And so, and ever since then, I've never had to mention again. That's just the number that we hit, and it just happens. So people should have defined. They don't even know if they're doing a good job for you unless you give them the benchmark. So it doesn't matter if it's somebody's scheduling an appointment for leasing. It doesn't matter if it's an acquisition guy. It doesn't matter if it's a cold caller. Like, figure out your cold caller. Hey, how many dials you make in a day? Like, this is what I want you to hit. If you set the constraints, they'll hit them, but you got to give them something to hit.
Yeah.
Just you go out and run the mile right now, and you run the mile with somebody that runs it in 8 minutes. You're going to run it in 8 minutes. But you get somebody in there that can run it in 6 minutes, you're going to push a little harder. Or if you're trying to do deadlifts with Cy, you better bring your belt, because your back's going to hurt.
And something actually hot too.
That's right. So anyway, I like to set standards. The proof on the whole thing is vacation time. How often, when you got a vacation coming up, does you or your employees always manage to get, they're going to be gone for an extended weekend, 4 or 5 days, and they get all their work done in the 2 days before they go on vacation? They fit 4 days of work into 2 days. I mean, it happens all the time. You can always shift a gear. And so you have to push people. People want to be busy anyway. being bored's terrible. So give them more to do and expect more.
What about like with some, I mean, like acquisitions is pretty clear. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, setting up KPIs, but something like like an operations manager.
Well,
where
your
it-
operations managers is you can say something super simple like, hey, here's a list of
just overall profit or-
processes. Yeah, here's a list of
Yeah.
processes I want to get done, and I'd like to have two new processes done a day.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like you can easily discover what areas need work and just have them do it.
Okay.
So, all right, guys. Well, hey, I'm going to jump off here. If you guys don't have any other questions, yeah, go ahead, Si.
This is, and I'm not sure it's too personal request with the company. So, but you mentioned about your high level employees, managers sending you a list of everything they do through the day. Could there be maybe, I don't know, part of a call where, I don't know, you go through a few examples? I just want to really grasp how much Amanda Hedda, because Hedda, she like the real deal. Hedda don't put that. So I really like that. So I just want to, I guess, kind of see, like, mentally grasp, like, wow, they really get, this is literally everything. This is what they're doing.
Yeah, I can have. I'll have Amanda. Here's what I'll do. I'll see if Amanda will post that in the Facebook group.
Okay.
And you guys check it out and see. It'd be easier to do it that way. I'll just have her post like one of the week's worth of. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But you can see all the stuff she works on.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'll have her post it for you guys. And you know what else I'll do? I'm going to give you an example. I'll have Amanda post a couple examples of some of the other VAs, what we require beginning of day and end of day. Okay, just so you can see a couple examples. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'll post that. Give me till I'll probably see. You'll probably see that tomorrow. Okay. Be on the lookout for it. You'll see it. All right. Well, hey, if there's nothing else, I'm gonna go ahead and you guys good?
Here's the last question. There's a
Yeah.
template on the back room of the to-do list for the VA.
Say that again.
Is there a kind of a list of requirements, kind of an example, like you are saying that you're gonna post it for everything Amanda does? Is there any like kind of a list of that you give to the virtual assistant so that way she knows how to do it?
Yeah. So you mean as far as what we expect them to do?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm gonna post that as an example too.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You're Trino, you're in the Facebook group, right?
Yes.
Yes. I'm gonna post you guys can, once we post that, you'll see that tomorrow. If there's anything else that you're looking for, just respond in that post and we'll add it.
Okay.
Sound
Perfect.
good? But I'll post I'll give you a couple examples of virtual assistants and Amanda.
Great.
Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Hey, we'll see you guys soon, and I'll post that stuff tomorrow. I'm gonna make a note right now.
All right.
Cool. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.
All right. We'll see you guys.
Later.
Bye.